Hi there, welcome back. In this video, I want to show you how we can use XGBoost for time series prediction. And in order to understand XGBoost, first we need to understand what boosting is. And boosting is a technique to create ensemble models. And boosting fits a series of models and then fits each successive model to minimize the error of the previous models. And there are different variants of boosting, one of them being gradient boosting. And this is exactly what XGBoost is an optimized, distributed gradient boosting library that is designed to be efficient and scalable. It implements machine learning algorithms under the gradient boosting framework. Now, in order to understand better what XGBoost is from the perspective of what machine learning algorithms it uses, XGBoost is an ensemble of decision trees where new trees fix errors of the previous trees that are already part of the model. And trees are added up until there are no further improvements that can be made to the actual model. Now, although XGBoost is usually used to fit tabular data, there is no problem fitting time series data, because the only thing that we need to do is make sure that we evaluate it a little bit differently. And for that, we're going to need to use a walk-forward validation instead of k-fold, because k-fold might have some biased results, of course, right? So we would need to use walk-forward validation. And if you're not familiar with walk-forward validation, don't worry, I'm going to explain everything further along. But before I start, I just want to thank you for being here, for viewing this video, and for subscribing to our channel, because we really want to help you guys grow in the data science and machine learning space. And all of the videos that I want to do are practical in nature so that you guys can have an applied edge over other people that just focus on the theoretical aspect. Because in the real life, we need to learn applied data science rather than just theoretical aspects that cannot be put in practice. So again, thank you for visiting this channel, and now let's go ahead and see what we can do about this XGBoost problem. So the first thing that we need to do is install XGBoost. It's very easy. You can just install it with pip or pipenv. And if we look at the documentation, if we look at the installation guide, this is exactly what we get, right? You can install it with pip install XGBoost. It's very simple. And for our particular problem, we're going to need to install scikit-learn as well, because we're going to use the scikit-learn API for our regressor. So make sure that you have scikit-learn installed as well. And let's first load the libraries and the debuggers. And we're going to be using for this problem a Microsoft hourly data for the past year. And if we check the head of the data, we can see that we have the open, high, low, close volume, average, and bar count. But we're just going to use the close. So we're going to have an univariate time series problem. And if we check the head, now we can see that we only have the close prices. All right, so we're going to need to transform this univariate problem to a supervised learning problem. Now, the way we do that is by setting the target to be the next days, or the next hours, in this case, the next hour's close price. So we're going to create a target column where we actually shift the close prices by -1, okay? And if we run this, and then of course we drop the nulls, because we're going to have a null at the end of the series. Let's just see the head now, and you can see that the close for 132, the target is 134. As you can see from here, we're using 132 to try to predict the next hour's close price. All right, and the same way here, right? 134.75, we're going to try to predict 133.88. So the first thing that we need to do is split the data set into a train and test set. And we're going to do that very easily by applying this method, okay? So we're going to just get the values, and then we're going to specify basically a cutoff point. So we're going to have to specify a percentage that we want to hold for the test set. And then we're going to return the data. We're going to return the train set up until that cutoff point, and then the test set will be from that cutoff point up until the end. So this is what our method does. And if we split our data frame, and we split it in a 20% test set, we can actually see that the original data frame has 1,700, and then our train set has 1,400, and only 350 for our test set. Okay, so this is our train test set split, which is very obvious and very easy to create as well. So in order to make a prediction, we're going to use the XGB regressor class. And XGBoost regressor is an implementation of the scikit-learn API. So if we go here to the documentation, we can just go to our Python package. So we can see exactly what documentation we get for the Python package for XGBoost. And if we go to the scikit-learn API, we will find our XGBoost regressor class. And we can see all the parameters that we can pass for this specific class. So you can see there are a lot of parameters, and I'm not going to walk you through these ones because it's not relevant for this particular video, but it's important for you guys to just go through them and understand what each parameter does, so that later on when you apply it for your problem, you will know exactly whether the default parameters are suited for your problem. Let's go back, and we're going to take the train set and the test input row as inputs, and then fit a model and then make a prediction. So we're going to first get the X and Y, okay, which is, if we look at the X, we're going to find our feature. And if we look at our Y, we're going to find the target. So the only thing that we need to do now is import the XGB regressor from XGBoost and then create the model. And we're going to use an objective, which is the squared error. This is just a regression that uses a linear model. And if we check the API reference so that you understand where you can find these objectives, it's very, very easy. You just go to XGBoost parameters, and then we can go to learning task parameters. And here we have all of the objectives that we can use. And of course, our default is our regression with squared loss. But I just specified it because I wanted to show you guys where you can find all these learning task parameters for your particular problem. For example, if you would want to fit a logistic regression, then you have binary logistic, or you have as well for a multi-class classification problem, then you can use this softmax. Okay, you can use multi-soft-prob or multi-softmax. Now, this is super important for you guys to understand where you can find all of these things in the documentation, because of course, you will have various problems, and the whole point is to show you how easy it is to find everything in the documentation if you know exactly where to look for it. Now, we can just fit the model. So we're specifying the XGB regressor with an objective of squared loss and a number of estimators of 1000. And we're going to fit the model. We see all of the parameters that are specified by default. So we're using a learning rate of 0.3. And if we check, let's actually try to predict one step into the future. So we're going to just get the first item in the test set. And we can see that the first item, the feature is 184, and we want to predict 183. So we're going to use the value of 184 and try to predict with the model that we just fit. Let's run this, and our prediction is 184.65, which is not anywhere close to 183.74, okay? Because this is the actual real value that we wanted to get, and our prediction is 184. So we didn't even get the direction right, and also the magnitude is way off. But of course, we just applied this to one sample, but we have 351 records that we need to predict. So we're going to see later on exactly what is our root mean squared error and whether our model actually performs well or not. All we need to do now is create a predict method so we can predict one sample at a time. So all of these things that you've seen before, what I've done here, I just put it in a method. So we first get our train set, and then we just specify the X and Y, and then we fit it, and then we predict one value that is given as a parameter. What you see here is exactly what we've done before. So let's run this. And if we check the results of this method, we can see that we get the same result because we just predicted the same value. Now that we have our XGB predict method, we're going to have to create our validate method with our walk forward validation technique. And this is where things get interesting, because since we are making a one step forward prediction, for this specific case, we make an hourly prediction, we're going to predict the first item in the test set and then the second item and so on and so forth. So the way the walk forward validation works is that we use a train set and then we predict one step into the future, and then we add that to the train set and then we retrain the model and then we predict the next item, the second item into in the test set, and then we add it to our train set and then we predict the third one, and so on and so forth until we get through all of the records in our test set. And this is why we call it a walk forward validation, because what we do, we take the train set and then we predict one step into the future, and then we add the record to the train set, retrain the model and predict the second step, and then so on and so forth, because we only predict one step at a time. And we're going to evaluate the model with the root mean squared error. And this is the method. It's very, very simple. Okay, so first we're going to just import the mean squared error from scikit-learn, and the validation works like this. So we're going to first split the train and test set by a percentage that we are giving to the validate method. And then we specify the history, which is our train set. And our train set initially will be just the train set. And then for the whole range of our test set, what we do, we get our test X and test Y, and then we predict the first step in our test set. And then we append this prediction to a prediction list so that we have all of these predictions in a list. And then we append the item in the test set to the history so that our train set is always updated with a new record at each point. And we do that for the full length of our test set because, as I said earlier, we want to predict only one step into the future, retrain the model with the new record, and then predict the next step into the future, and so on and so forth until we go through all of the records in our test set. And this way, after all of this is finished, we can just get the error. We can get the root mean squared error because here, as you can see, we pass in the predictions and the original values, and we pass in squared equals false because we want it to be a root mean squared error. And we're going to return the error, the test, the original results, and the predictions as well. So if we run this, let me just run the validate method. And now when we run this, and we're going to print the root mean squared error at the end, it's going to take a couple of minutes. But as you can see, I passed here a 0.2. So basically we're going to use a 20% for the test set. As soon as this is finished, we're going to have the root mean squared error printed. So we're going to see exactly what that error is. The root mean squared error doesn't tell you much in absolute terms unless you actually compare it to the scale of the features that you passed into the model. But let's see exactly what value we get, and then we can decide exactly whether that value is relatively good. Okay. Now it finished, and the runtime is 3 minutes and 49 seconds, and the root mean squared error is 1.79. Now, having in mind that our variable is in the range of 130, 140, our root mean squared error is relatively small. But of course, you will have to try out different models and try to optimize this root mean squared error to minimize it as much as you can. And therefore, you're going to find the model that best fits your data. By running just a model and just having one root mean squared error, you won't know that much, okay? Because you need to compare the root mean squared errors to other root mean squared errors and see exactly which model minimizes the root mean squared error, okay? So maybe the parameters that we use for our XGB regressor aren't the best, okay? Maybe their learning rate should be smaller or bigger, I don't know. But that's why it's up to you guys to figure out the best parameters that you can use for XGBoost or for any other model or ensemble that you want to use, okay? Because this is the trick with time series. It's very hard to predict into the future, right? Especially for in the stock market, like we're trying to do. The problems aren't that simple as to be solved just with one model. As a conclusion, my advice is that you don't use XGBoost or any other machine learning models that are fitted only on close prices or just the open, high, lows and close prices. You will need to have an edge over the market. So you're going to need to find information from other sources that you can add to your models, because if you just try to predict by the close price or by the open, high, low and close prices, you're not going to be very successful, because the markets are way too complex for this type of problem. Okay, so definitely do not run this model in a real world scenario in the stock market. Do your research and try to get an edge over other participants. So the markets are way too complex just to be fitted with one variable or a couple of variables that are known by everybody. You need to have some sort of information, some alternative data that you can pass into your models and try to extract that alpha.